Our topic is based off of these ideas of mixed and pure strategies. We'll be comparing these theories to baseball with real-life examples, and we'll also be discussing the ideas of batting averages and pitching averages. In the idea of game theory, there are two types of two-person total conflict games. These are pure strategy and mixed strategy. In order to understand these and the rest of our video, there are some words that should be explained. A pure strategy is defined as each of the definite courses of action that a player can choose. What this basically means is that in the end, each player will have made a definite choice. And this strategy is not the best because it has the players trying to anticipate the other person's moves when they should be focused on their own. A mixed strategy is defined as a strategy in which the course of action is randomly chosen from one of the pure strategies, and each pure strategy is assigned a probability indicating the frequency in which that strategy will be used. With this strategy, the game outcome is no longer predictable, and it is rather described using the idea of expected value. An expected value is basically the average value of the game. A few more definitions and concepts to keep in mind. The term value is the player's expected value of the game when they choose an optimal strategy. This relates to the idea of a fair game, and a fair game will always have a value of 0, and it will favor neither player as long as at least one of them uses an optimal strategy, which can also mean a mixed strategy. There is also this idea of zero-sum games. Basically, a zero-sum game means that the payoff to one player is the negative of a corresponding payoff. So this means that the sum of the two payoffs is always 0. And all of this goes along with the idea of Minimax theorem, which is the fundamental theorem for every two-person zero-sum game. Minimax theorem guarantees that there will be a unique game value and optimal strategy for each player, and that is so that each player can realize this value by playing this strategy, and that strategy can be either pure or mixed.
Baseball is America's pastime, and as we can all tell from last year's Cubs World Series win, which was their first in 108 years, it is a big part of society. Henry Chadwick is an Englishman who was credited for discovering batting average and earned run average. Chadwick was actually born in England and was a cricket reporter for the New York Times after moving to the United States in 1856. In 1859, he came up with the first ever box score formula in which he documented statistics like runs, hits, putouts, assists, and errors for the dominant Brooklyn Excelsiors. Additionally, Chadwick recorded the pitcher's strikeouts, denoting them with the letter K, which is still widely used today. Chadwick brought the game to the fans' households in an area where there was no TV or radio.
Baseball connects to real life in many, many different ways. It is a big part of culture, just for not America, but for the world, if you ask me. But for America's sense, for example, if you see the Cubs last year and how it brought joy to many different people to see the Cubs win and how people hopped on a bandwagon, you can see how big of baseball of an impact that it brings to society and to just real life in general. Very influential. It has many iconic heroes and stars such as Babe Ruth, who played for the New York Yankees in 1914 to 1935. Another man, Jackie Robinson, who played for the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947 to 1956 in the majors. And then Ted Williams, for example, who played for the Boston Red Sox from 1939 to 1960. And then another personal favorite is Hank Aaron for the Milwaukee Brewers, who played from 1954 to 1976. And these are just some of the many different people in baseball who have influenced the game and who have just been great people on and off the field. But baseball was invented by a man named Abner Doubleday in the summer of 1839 in Cooperstown, New York. Doubleday had later on become a Civil War hero at the end of the war. And during the time in the war, baseball would become one of America's favorite pastime.
Okay, so we're going to talk about batting average and pitching average. Batting average is defined as the measurement of a hitter's success at the plate, which is determined by dividing a player's hits by their total at-bats for a number between 0 and 1. It doesn't take into account of the number of times a batter reaches base via walks or hits by pitches. A hit by pitch, a HBP, is when a batter is struck by a pitched ball without swinging at it, and that will award the player to go to first base. Players' hits, or base hits, is the sum of singles, doubles, triples, and home runs. This can be used to calculate seasons, careers, or a certain time period for a player. Player at bat is the number of times the player has made an attempt at an hit. Okay, so the calculation for a batting average is when you divide the number of hits by the number at bats, and that will equal the batting average, or the fraction of the time that a batter turned an at-bat attempt into a successful hit. So for example, if a player has 70 hits and 200 at-bats, their batting average is 70 divided by 200, and that will equal 0.35. Is give this player the expectation that out of 1,000 at-bats, they will have 350 hits. Always remember to round up to the decimal point in the third decimal place. Okay, so let's talk about the pitching average. The pitching average can be known as the ERA, which is the earned run average. This is defined as the statistical tool for evaluating pitchers. It represents the number of earned runs a pitcher allows per 9 innings. So, the goal of pitching is to prevent runs from scoring, and the ERA tells us how well a pitcher is doing. The formula for ERA is 9 times the amount of earned runs in innings pitched. So, for example, if a player is charged with 19 earned runs in their first 89 innings pitched, their ERA would be 19 divided by 89, which is 0.2135, times the number 9, which equals 1.92. So the reason why we times it by 9 at the end is because that's the amount of innings that they'll play in one game. So you can adjust that to how many innings that you want to predict their ERA for.
So in this scenario, Lester just walked Brandon Phillips to get on base. Now he has to face Mike Trout, who is widely known as one of the best hitters in the game. Lester is also not known for pitching well with runners on base, for all the money he's getting paid. That was a side note. Alright, so he threw a strike there. So now the count is 0-2. Let's see what Mike does now. He's a very dangerous hitter. Alright, fouled it off again. Alright, another ball. So 1-2 count. Pitched. I'm not sure what the catcher was doing there, but he got him. So Brandon Phillips is now in scoring position for the dangerous Mike Trout. Let's see what happens here. Lester throws it, and that's a hit by Mike Trout. So Mike Trout just scored the runner, so that is 1 run given up per 1 inning for Jon Lester. So that would mean his ERA for this inning is a 1. And if he kept it up, his ERA would be 9 if he kept this up for 9 innings. But we did not do this times 9 because we are not playing 9 innings.